So making chicken with bell peppers and onions and brown rice. I didn't put anything on it today. Just letting the water boil off since it's cooked. And my banana bread, I gave half to the kids upstairs. It's so different here. I went upstairs to put my bike in the garage across the street, and the kids ran up and opened the garage door. It's a big, heavy metal door. They opened it for me and said, "Oh, thank you, that was very nice." And then a kid who was playing with it too from upstairs, but I didn't know, came up to me and introduced himself. "Hi, I don't know you. My name is so-and-so," and shook my hand. He's probably like 10 years old. And it's such a nice gesture that in the United States, I've never, ever had that happen, ever. Here, all the kids do that. The adults introduce themselves from the barrio. And that is a different feel altogether. This reminds me of when I lived in Argentina, where I knew all the neighbors. And, well, I grew up in that barrio, and everybody else been there 20, 30 years. I haven't been here 20, 30 years, obviously. But I'm beginning to feel more and more welcome. And even though I would like a slightly different place with a bigger house, a view and all that, I would miss the camaraderie of the barrio and how everybody helps each other and is nice to each other and greets everybody. I did find out that this barrio, I kept telling the immigration police that it's really weird. Everybody I've met here is ex-police, ex-military, ex-whatever. I said, well, that's because the guy across the street where I keep my motorcycle, I was telling him that story, and he goes, well, that's because back in the 90s, the county for Maragalpa gave away all this land to civil servants, police, firemen, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they all built their own houses, and that's why there's so many of them in this neighborhood. So I feel pretty safe here. There's not a problem at all. When I lived in Oregon, we lived on 100 by 100 lot, so it wasn't very big, but everybody else around me had at least 2 to 5 acres. And the sheriff, one of the sheriffs, lived up the street about half a block, and my kids played with his kids. And the sheriff department would come and cruise our street, every day, at least once, and it kept all the riffraff out, and we never had problems in that neighborhood, which is fantastic. So I'm all for police presence where I live to make sure nothing happens, and nothing has, which is nice. But here, I've been amazed at how kind and warm all the police that I've met, whether it was immigration or, the office. I haven't had a single snide remark, nothing. They've just been nothing but helpful, which is fantastic in my opinion.